nobody ever sees it. That's the whole point. The strongest man you've ever known usually save their tears for when nobody's around. He's the first one out the door when somebody needs a hand, the one folks call dependable, the one who always stands. He's carried families on his shoulders, held together things that broke, learned how to swallow heartache before it ever reached his throat. And if you asked him how he's doing, he'd probably flash a smile, say, "I've had worse days than this," and make it seem worthwhile. But behind that calm expression, there's a storm nobody knows, because the strongest men in the world have places they don't show. He's got a chair out in the garage where he sits after dark, the place where all the weight he carries finally leaves a mark. Sometimes it's an old photograph, sometimes it's a memory, sometimes it's just exhaustion from being who he needs to be. And the tears don't come dramatic, no audience, no sound, just a tired soul letting go when nobody's around. Then he wipes his face and stands back up before the morning sun has shone. That's how strong men cry when they're alone. The world mistakes silence for strength, but silence can hide pain too. And just because a man ain't talking don't mean he ain't breaking through. Strong men cry alone in empty rooms where nobody knows, where the weight of years comes crashing down and finally overflows. Strong men cry alone, not because they're weak inside, but because they've spent so much time giving everyone else the right to cry. Strong men cry alone, and then they carry on. There was a time he thought emotions were something he should hide, a flaw that needed fixing, a weakness trapped inside. So he buried every heartbreak, every fear and every scar, built walls around his feelings and called those walls his heart. But pain don't disappear forever, it just waits beneath the skin, growing heavier and heavier until it caves you in. And every tear and every cry found a place to belong, waiting for a quiet night to finally come along. One evening he looked in the mirror and barely knew the face of the man who spent a lifetime trying not to take up space, trying not to burden others, trying not to fall apart, trying to protect the world while neglecting his own heart. Maybe strength is standing up again after letting yourself be human. Now and then, strong men cry alone, but maybe they don't always have to. Maybe some burdens get lighter when somebody helps you through. Strong men cry alone, but tears don't make them small. Sometimes they're proof a man is fighting, not giving up at all. Strong men cry alone, and maybe that's okay, but they shouldn't have to carry everything that way. The strongest oak in the forest still bends beneath the storm, and the strongest hearts among us still get tired and worn. We're all just flesh and bone, trying to survive the years. Nobody becomes less of a man because of tears. Strong men cry alone. I've done it more times than I can count, but maybe the strongest thing a man can do is let somebody know he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to.